remember the exact moment I screamed. Not the kind of scream when you see a spider or a jump scare on TV. No, this was the kind that comes from somewhere deep, like your ex slipping through the curtains, and everything felt weird. My pillow was itchy. My scalp burned just a little. And when I stretched, I swore I felt a breeze on my neck that shouldn't have been there. Still half asleep, I reached up to tuck my hair behind my ear like I always did. But there was nothing to tuck, just skin, and wiry little strands poking out here and there. I jumped up so fast, my blanket flung off the bed and knocked my phone to the ground. I stumbled to the mirror on my closet door. And that's when I screamed. My hair was nearly gone. It looked like someone hacked at it with gardening shears. Uneven clumps stuck out at odd places. Parts of my scalp were exposed, red and blotchy like they'd been scratched raw. It didn't feel real. I slapped my cheeks. Hard. "This isn't happening," I whispered. And then she walked in, holding a cup of tea like nothing had happened, like the house wasn't burning down, like my world wasn't crumbling. My mom. If you're feeling the tension right now, hit that like button and or subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. This story only gets crazier from here. She looked at me with this weird calm on her face and said, "You'll thank me one day." She actually smiled. "I couldn't let you steal Claire's spotlight. Not tomorrow. Not when all eyes are supposed to be on her." I opened my mouth to say something, but all that came out was air. Her eyes narrowed. "You don't understand, Lena. People were already talking about how you looked more stunning than your sister. Even your aunt said it. Claire's been crying all week. She deserves this moment." I could barely stand. My knees gave out, and I sat on the floor in front of the mirror, staring at the destroyed version of myself. This wasn't just a haircut. It was a war. "But why not just ask me?" I whispered. Mom didn't answer right away. She took a sip of her tea and glanced out my window. "Because girls like you always act like they don't want attention, but the world gives it to you anyway." Then she walked out, just like that. I stayed on the floor for who knows how long. Minutes? Hours? My hoodie was on the edge of my bed. I grabbed it and pulled the hood tight over my head like I was trying to disappear. What had I ever done to deserve this? What could I do now? Because this wasn't just sabotage. This was personal. And they had no idea what I would do next. Just 7 days before the wedding, everything seemed fine. I was laughing with Claire in the kitchen, helping her address the last few wedding invites. I used my fancy calligraphy pens, the ones I saved for special drawings, and she praised me nonstop. "You always make things look so pretty, Lena," she said with that soft smile. "I swear your handwriting makes it look like I'm marrying royalty." I laughed and rolled my eyes. "Nah, you're the royal one. I'm just the dorky little sister with good pen skills." Claire gave this half smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. "Yeah, well, it must be nice being perfect all the time." I paused, unsure if it was a joke. But she laughed after and moved on, talking about table decorations. So I let it slide. That was my mistake. Because over the next few days, more little comments started slipping. Like the day our cousins came over to help with dress fittings. They gasped when they saw me. "Lena, your hair is so long now, oh my gosh. You look like a shampoo commercial, seriously." I giggled. I wasn't trying to show off. My hair was just my thing. I didn't wear much makeup, I wasn't flashy, my hair made me feel pretty. Claire didn't say much that day. She just sat on the couch quietly, her hands curled tight around her phone. That night, Mom sat me down while Claire ran errands. "You need to be very careful at the wedding, Lena," she said, stirring her tea like she always did when she was about to give a lesson. "Careful how?" "Don't draw attention to yourself," she said sharply. "Don't try to look too dressed up. No eyeliner, no bright colors. Just Pick something gray or navy. Safe. Conservative. I blinked, confused. What? Why? Because it's Claire's day, she snapped. Not yours. That one stung. I didn't argue, though. I just nodded and went to my room, sat on the bed, looked at my hair in the mirror and started wondering if maybe they were right. But every time someone came over, every time we saw extended family, I noticed it again. People looked at me like I wasn't just the little sister anymore, like I stood out, even when I didn't try. And then suddenly, nothing was okay anymore. Claire barely talked to me. Mom got colder. Dad was always in his own world, glued to his laptop, sipping his weird green health drinks, pretending like everything was normal. But the weirdest moment? The night before the rehearsal dinner. Claire came into my room. She held a mug of warm milk, just like she used to when we were younger and couldn't sleep. "Thought you might want some," she said. Her voice sounded soft, but her eyes, they didn't match her tone. Still, I took the mug, smiled, drank it, because I wanted to believe deep down that we were still sisters, still connected. I should have trusted my gut. That night, I slept heavier than I ever had. But just before I drifted off, I remember this strange pulling feeling, like someone was tugging at my hair. Hard. I thought it was a dream, but it wasn't. That night haunts me more than the morning I woke up bald, because I felt it. It didn't start like anything scary. The warm milk Claire gave me had a hint of honey, just like when we were kids. I was so exhausted from helping decorate the venue that day, I didn't second guess it. I remember thinking, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Claire wasn't distant. Maybe she actually did want to be close again before the big day. I fell asleep with that thought wrapped around me like a blanket. But sometime during the night, I slipped into that weird state between sleep and waking. And that's when it started. A tug, then a pull, then this awful snipping sound. Snip. Snip. I remember turning my head, kind of groggy, trying to lift my arm, but it felt like I was underwater. My limbs were heavy. My eyelids barely opened halfway. I saw something. A figure. Shadowy. Hovering. And then I felt it again. A sharp pain at the side of my scalp. Snip. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a mumble. I wasn't fully awake. I wasn't fully asleep. It was like being paralyzed in a nightmare you couldn't escape. A whisper floated through the room. "Stay still." That voice. I knew that voice. It was my mother. But no part of me could believe it. Not then. Not in that moment. My brain fought it, twisted it into something else, some weird dream. I slipped back into full sleep soon after that. Too weak to fight it, too trusting to believe the truth. The next morning, when I screamed at the mirror, pieces of that dream started flashing back, like puzzle pieces dumping into my lap. The snipping, the voice, the weight on my chest, someone leaning over me. I wasn't crazy. And now, looking back, I don't think it was just milk and honey. I think something was in it. Something to make me sleep. I wanted to believe it couldn't be true. That no one would ever do something so cruel. Not my mom, not my own sister. But the proof was on my head. Still is, patches and all. Later that day, when Mom casually walked into my room and called it justice, it confirmed what I already feared. This wasn't just jealousy. It was planned. They planned it. And the worst part? Claire didn't even come see me that morning. Didn't check in. Didn't ask if I was okay. At noon, a text from her popped up on my phone. Just 5 words. "Don't do anything stupid tomorrow. No heart emoji, no sorry, no explanation, just a warning." And that's when I knew. They weren't sorry. They were scared. Scared that I'd take the spotlight again. Scared of how I might show up. And suddenly, that gave me power. Justice. That was the exact word my mom used while I sat on the edge of my bed, hoodie pulled so tight around my head it felt like a helmet. She stood in my doorway holding a laundry basket like she hadn't destroyed a whole part of me just a few hours earlier. "This was nothing personal, Lena," she said, as if patchy baldness could ever be nothing. "It's called justice. Your sister has had to live in your shadow for years." My shadow? She was 6 inches taller than me and the center of every photo since I was born. What shadow? "You could have just asked me to lay low," I choked. "I would have done that. For her." She shrugged while folding towels. "Oh, please. Girls like you always play innocent until it's time to shine. Claire needed this wedding. Her future depends on it. You? You'll land on your feet, like always." Was that supposed to be a compliment? I couldn't cry anymore. My eyes hurt. My head hurt more. Every time I looked in the mirror, it felt like someone else was staring back. I stayed in my room for most of the day, skipped lunch, kept my phone on silent. I couldn't take another fake apology, or worse, another threat disguised as advice. That evening, someone knocked at my door and didn't wait for an answer. "Aunt Rosie's here," my mom said flatly, like it was a warning. Aunt Rosie, the only relative who called my mom out for her behavior, loudly, in public. She barged in minutes later with a grocery bag in one hand and a neon pink tumbler in the other. She looked at me once and immediately set everything down. "What in God's name happened to your head?" she blurted, stepping forward. I froze. My hood was still up, but a few rough patches of skin were showing at the edge. "Did you get sick, baby? Did something happen at school?" I didn't say a word. I just pushed the hood back. She gasped so loudly the window felt like it echoed. "Who did this?" Her hands balled into fists like she was ready to fight someone right there. Her face turned red. Tears filled my eyes again. I didn't even want to say it, but the words slid out quietly. "Mom did it." Dead silence, then came muttering, then a full explosion. "She lost her mind," Aunt Rosie said, pacing back and forth. "No, she sold it. She did this for Claire? Are you kidding me? This is child abuse. You could press charges." For the first time all day, I felt the tiniest breath of air, because someone believed me. Someone cared. She looked me in the eye then. "Listen, I don't want you to cry, Lena. I want you to plan." "Plan what?" I whispered. Her lips curved into a slow, sly smile. "Oh, sweetie, I've got makeup wipes sharper than your mother's shears. But we're not doing a meltdown." She patted my hand. "We're giving them a moment they'll never forget." I didn't sleep much the night before the wedding. Not out of sadness. Not anymore. Something had shifted. Aunt Rosie stayed in my room with face masks, iced coffee, and way too many plans for someone who wasn't technically invited to the bridal suite prep. "We're gonna flip the script," she whispered like a movie villain. "But we do it your way. Quiet, strong, beautiful." I just nodded. My nerves were tangled, but deep inside, a fire had finally lit. And by morning, it wasn't fear anymore. It was focus. The sun rose fast, almost too fast. Before I knew it, it was wedding day. Downstairs, the house buzzed with the usual morning chaos. Mom was giving orders like a general. "Make sure the flowers are in the coolers. Claire only eats soft-boiled eggs. No one opens champagne until photos." And me? I was told to help set up chairs. "From the back," she said with her eyes narrowed. "No wandering, no socializing." I said nothing, just nodded and held onto my hoodie like a shield as I walked out to the garden area. I heard whispers already from early guests. "Is that the little sister?" "Oh no, what happened to her hair?" But I didn't shrink. Not this time, because right under the hoodie, there was a plan. Back in the guest house, Aunt Rosie had transformed her makeup kit into a war chest. Concealer, highlighter, lashes, smooth, glowing foundation that made my skin look like untouched silk. And the dress? Oh, the dress. It was bold, deep royal purple, long sleeves with shimmer, but the real star was how it wrapped around me perfectly. Even bald, even scarred, somehow I still looked beautiful, not flashy, not dramatic, just powerful, like someone who'd been through a storm and walked out carrying thunder. Aunt Rosie stood behind me, fixing the earrings she let me borrow. You were never supposed to blend in. I breathed deep. I'm scared. What if this makes it worse? She leaned down to my level. Good. That means it'll matter. Everyone turned as I stepped into the venue. And I mean, everyone. Some gasped, others glanced and whispered quick to the person next to them. Even the photographer slowly lowered her camera like she forgot what she was supposed to be doing. All eyes didn't stay on Claire. They turned to me. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I walked. Not toward the front row seating where Mom told me to stay invisible, but straight past it, stopping just behind the aisle where Claire was about to walk. I kept my hands folded, my back straight, my face calm. Mom noticed me almost immediately, and I saw her face distort like she'd just bit into spoiled food. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked toward Claire, who was just stepping out from the bridal tent. Claire's eyes met mine, and I saw it hit her like a slap. Her wedding wasn't center stage anymore. She wasn't the main character today. And as she gasped, I knew one thing for sure. They never thought I'd show up at all. Claire froze mid-step. Her bouquet tilted like it was too heavy to hold. Every guest turned to stare, not at her walking in white, but at me, standing just off the aisle in bold royal purple, my head bald and shining like I meant it. And this time, I did. Mom rushed over, gripping my wrist so hard I almost winced. "What is wrong with you?" she hissed. "You were not supposed to come out until after the ceremony." I pulled my hand away gently, calm, not loud. "I'm not hiding anymore," I said quietly. "Not for you, not for Claire, not for anyone." Her face twisted. Behind her, I heard whispers swirl like wind through dry leaves. "That's the sister? She looks amazing." I thought something happened to her. Claire finally made it to the start of the aisle. Everyone stood. The music started. And still, her eyes were locked on me. I half expected her to ignore me, to fake smile through it because that's what she always did when things didn't go her way. But not this time. Claire snapped, in front of everyone. She gripped her bouquet with shaking hands and marched toward me before the ceremony even officially began. "Are you kidding me right now?" she growled under her breath, her teeth clenched tight through the smile she tried to keep. "This is not your moment, Lena." "I didn't come to steal it," I said calmly. "Then, what is this?" She waved a hand up and down at me. "You look like you're walking a runway at my wedding." People gasped. The music stopped. The pastor awkwardly coughed. "Ladies," Claire turned and snapped, "not now." All I could do was blink, because this wasn't shame I felt. It was the moment she finally showed everyone who she really was. And that's when Aunt Rosie, watching it all from the second row, stood up slow like she'd been waiting for this. She walked forward, heels clicking like a countdown clock. "You know what's funny, Claire?" Rosie said loud enough for everyone to hear. "All these years your mom has told people Lena was too perfect, but we all knew what she meant." Claire froze. Rosie tilted her head, arms folded. "She meant pretty, kind, everything. You're not. And when she realized Lena naturally had what you tried to fake, she punished her for it." Mom stepped in. "Rosie, stay out of this." "No." Rosie looked her square in the face. "You drugged a child and chopped off her hair in the middle of the night because your adult daughter was jealous. You think people won't talk?" Gasps again. People shifting, cameras clicking. Claire's fiancé stood near the altar, staring in pure confusion. She did what? He asked. Claire turned pale. I stood still, heart pounding in my ears. It was like every dark secret was unraveling, right there, under the white tent full of flowers and fake smiles. And in that one moment, I realized I didn't have to ruin their wedding. They were already doing it for me. For a second, everything stood still. The music had stopped. Claire's guests were looking around awkwardly. The groom's parents whispered to each other, clearly uncomfortable. Even the makeup artist who had been fixing bridesmaids earlier stood frozen, makeup brush in midair. Claire's face crumbled, then twisted, then crumbled again. "You're ruining everything," she spat. "I worked for this day, Lena. I deserve it." I took a breath, steadied my voice. "I never wanted to take it from you. I just wanted you to respect me." She stared at me like I was saying a foreign language, like the idea of respecting me had never even crossed her mind. And then it happened. Dad stepped forward. Yeah. Dad. The man who had said nothing for years, who always stayed in his office or buried behind a screen. "This ends now," he said, his voice shaking but loud enough to echo across the aisle. Mom blinked like someone slapped her. "James? Not now." "No," he cut in. "It's been not now for 20 years. But this isn't parenting. This is cruelty." Mom looked ready to explode. Claire was already halfway there. "You're taking her side?" Claire barked. Dad turned to me. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you." And just like that, my legs almost gave out. I didn't know I needed to hear that until the words finally reached me. The groom quietly stepped up beside Claire then. He looked between her and me, then at her mother. "Is it true?" he asked. Did your family do this to your sister?" Claire didn't speak right away. She didn't have to. Her silence was the answer. The groom turned to his parents. "I need a moment." He walked away. Claire turned to me, eyes wide. "You're ruining my life." I looked right at her and whispered, "Then maybe it matches what you did to mine." That's when Mom snapped. This is exactly why she had to be put in her place. Gasps everywhere. It was too loud, too much. But I was calm. That's when I pulled the last surprise from my purse, a small mic. My phone had been recording since the moment I stepped into the venue. I turned it around and showed it. "I recorded everything," I said. "Even you calling this justice." Claire's jaw dropped. Mom went silent. People started filming. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just walked away. Each step was like cutting through chains I didn't even know I was dragging behind me. Aunt Rosie caught up with me outside. "You all right, champ?" I nodded, dizzy, but finally free. "Not gonna lie," she said. "That might be the most graceful revenge I've ever seen." I smiled for the first time in days, because I hadn't just shown up. I hadn't just stood tall. I told the truth. I let them reveal who they really were. Claire might be married now, maybe, but her perfect day, it would be remembered for something else entirely. And me, bald or not, I had never felt more powerful.